Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm going to be swatching my ILNP Black Friday haul. So yes, this video is a little bit late. Thank you to everybody who's been so patient waiting for this. Kind of wanted to prioritize some of the other full collections that I got, but here we are finally swatching all of the shades that I picked up over Black Friday. So without further ado, let's just get into the swatches. So the first polish that I grabbed is Daydreamer, and this is a flamingo pink holographic ultra metallic nail polish. So I think the only other ultra metallic that I had from ILNP was Juliet, which was the rose gold one. And I'm not sure if my bottle has just darkened over the years, but it definitely has a very bronzy kind of color to it. So I'm really happy to have this pure pink one. I don't think I would really consider this rose gold, but as a certified pink lover, I'm happy either way. Their ultra metallics are basically these really finely shredded silver flakes in a tinted base color, and for me, I would say this is opaque in 2 coats. But I still really love how it looks in 1 coat with just that subtle wash of color, but there's a lot of flakies to cover up your nail line. The next shade that I grabbed was Bloodline, and this is described as a rich Marsala holographic polish, but there's also this copper shimmer in here, which I absolutely adore. I actually picked this up off of a recommendation when I was looking for these darker fall or winter sort of pinks. The person who did comment did say this isn't really a pink, but it still might be a shade that I really like, and they were not wrong. So big thank you to whoever left that comment because I absolutely love this shade. It is a little bit sheer and almost jelly-like on the first coat, but it does build up to full opacity on 2 coats alone, and I cannot get over this shade. It is just so beautiful. Again, I love that copper shimmer and that scattered hollow. This is definitely a new favorite ILNP. The next shade that I grabbed was Bulletproof Symphony, and this is described as a medium periwinkle holographic ultra metallic nail polish. So this is pretty much the same finish as Daydreamer or Juliet, but I don't know if I would really consider it a periwinkle kind of color. It definitely reads a little bit darker, more gunmetal-y, or almost like that slate blue sort of color, especially compared to the website photos, which I think look a lot lighter and brighter and have more of a true periwinkle shade to it. It could just be the lighting or something. So I don't want to say I'm totally let down by this shade, but it just was a lot darker than I was anticipating, but it still looks really cool. Definitely a very edgy, gunmetal-y, cool winter gray. So I still like it for that. The next shade I have is by Nightfall, and this one is described as an asphalt blue ultra metallic nail polish. But even though this one is also described as an ultra metallic, it is definitely a bit of a different finish than Bulletproof Symphony and Daydreamer, where it doesn't have as many of those little shredded silver flakies, or they're just not as large as in those other shades. I think in this shade it's a little bit smaller, so it just almost has a shimmer kind of effect, but it's still very like twinkly and reflective because they are silver. So all of that to say, I absolutely loved this shade. I just thought it was so beautiful. I really love this shade of blue, whatever asphalt blue is. It is just so pretty. This one had another amazing formula where it was pretty full coverage on the first coat, but fully opaque in 2. You're probably going to see this in my winter favorites next year. Next I have Set Sail, and this is a navy blue holographic jelly polish. And if you know me, you know I love these holographic jellies from ILNP. They're just my favorite finish that they make. I think they're just so squishy and juicy and so pretty. I know it might not look super pretty here on the first coat because it's a little splotchy looking and uneven. And normally it does even out more on 2 coats. Sometimes it's still a little bit sheer, but I found that this was still uneven. Like I just didn't have a lot of polish on the left half of my nail. So this is technically 2.5 coats because I had to dip back in to fill out the left side. But even with doing that, it evened out perfectly. Like, so this formula just self-levels really beautifully. I think it's very forgiving. And because the shade was a little darker, I only needed to do 2 coats. And I really love how vibrant and stunning this blue is. It's almost like a dark cobalt. Up next I have Vanity, and this is described as a deep purple holographic nail polish. I thought it was so interesting that they didn't describe this as a holographic jelly, because it definitely seems that way. Like, it looks just like the purple version of the last color. Similar to the last shade, it's not the most impressive on the first coat alone with the coverage, but it does build up perfectly opaque in 2 coats because it's a bit of a darker shade. The only difference between this polish and the last one is that this one also has this extra gold microflake in here. You might be able to catch some glimpses of gold here on the first coat, but I think it's a lot easier to spot once the base coat is fully built up. So yeah, I somehow missed it in the swatch photos and the description that there was supposed to be a golden microflake. I kind of wish it wasn't in here, but I do still really love the purple color. Next, I grabbed Holly, and this is described as a deep spruce green holographic jelly. My jaw hit the floor when I came across this one on the website. It is just that super rich, dark, earthy green that I have been craving. On the first coat, it is a little bit sheer and uneven, kind of like the other holographic jellies so far, but it does build up to be perfectly opaque in 2 coats. And I just love how deep and dark this one gets. I feel like maybe in certain lightings, this could be a shade that looks so dark it's almost black, but I don't know. To me, it's definitely very noticeably green, and I am just such a fan of it. It is so dark, so alluring. Then I have Carrie, and this is a blood red holographic nail polish. As you guys probably know, I'm not the biggest fan of red nails, but I do really love them when they are on the darker side, and especially when they're sparkly. If you couldn't tell by the name, this was actually released for a Halloween collection, but I think it could also work for a winter holiday kind of red. This also had a really great formula where it was very even coverage on the first coat alone, but still a little bit sheer, so you are going to need 2 coats to build it up to be fully opaque, and I think it just deepens the color, which makes it look even more gorgeous. Oh, I love the contrast of that rich blood red base, the brighter red shimmer, and of course that hollow sparkle. And the last shade that I grabbed is Lilac Bridges, and this is described as a lilac shimmer nail polish. The base is lilac, but the shimmer is more of this like golden to orange shifting color, and I actually got this on another recommendation, which I guess I'll get to a little bit later in the video. But formula-wise, as you can see here on the first coat, this one is really sheer. I think I would say this has a bit more of a crelly leaning formula and not a jelly, even though it is very sheer, but it's still applied really smoothly and evenly. I didn't find it to be streaky at all. I'm not sure how similar this shimmer formula is to the Cloud 9 collection from a couple of years ago, but I do remember people having issues with that collection, just not really self-leveling well, but I did not have issues with this shade. It was just so smooth and easy to work with, and I really liked how it looked on 2 coats, where it's just that sheer kind of wash of color, just very airy and whimsical, but it also builds up really beautifully on 3 coats. I was honestly even a little nervous to try this on because when I first saw it in the bottle, I thought it was maybe like a little dull and it wasn't going to stand out that much, but I loved it on the nail. So getting into comparisons, we're starting with Daydreamer and of course looking at it next to Holo Taco's Fake Date, which sadly is being retired. Fake Date is this really beautiful foil metallic in this really icy pink kind of color. I feel like the photos always made it look more purpley than it is. So these two are definitely very close to each other, especially in terms of the description being like a pink base, foily metallic kind of color. I would say the little foily pieces in Holo Taco are a bit bigger, and the pink base in Daydreamer is a little bit darker and maybe more opaque too. Here on 2 coats, you can still see some nail line on Fake Date. The tinted base is just a little bit more sheer, but it's also a little bit more sparse with those little foily bits. So Daydreamer isn't an exact dupe, but it's close enough. So if you remember from my best of ILNP video when I was talking about my wish list, I mentioned wanting to get Vanity and Set Sail in hopes that they would be dupes for Cirque's Facets polishes. Vanity in particular for Amethyst, which I didn't have at the time, but I picked up since it was being retired. And sadly, they are not one-to-one dupes. Vanity is a little bit lighter and more red leaning, but the other big difference is in their little flaky bits. The original Facets had a larger and more similar kind of holographic holographic flaky as the ILNP polishes do, but at some point they changed those apparently. Here's Vanity next to Cirque's Spinel, which is an older polish in my collection and one with the original facets finish. To me, it looks like it has a larger microflake particle than Amethyst did. Next for Holly, I of course have to show this next to Forest Drive from the Home for the Holidays collection. They're definitely similar when it comes to sparkly green holographic jellies, but Forest Drive is much lighter, almost like a mid-tone kind of green, and Holly really does have like a darker earthy sort of color. It almost even has this like gray leaning color to it. You can see sort of near my cuticle area, so I kind of think I like Holly a little bit more. Then for Carrie, I wanted to show it next to Joy, which was also from the Home for the Holidays collection. These two are definitely wildly different shades of red, where Joy is kind of like that typical bright cherry red in the standard holographic jelly formula, and then Carrie again is that deeper, vampy kind of blood red that's still holographic but not jelly. I think normally I would go for Carrie instead of Joy, but I really love how Joy looks here. And lastly, for Lilac Bridges, I of course have to show this next to Emily Damali's Get In Line, which I recently shared on my channel. This was another Black Friday purchase, and it's another purple with this really fiery shimmer. And in the same vein, I also have to show it next to Shleee Polish's Still Alive, which is a bit of a lighter and maybe gray leaning purpley base with another fiery shimmer. So if anything, Emily Damali and Shleee are a bit more similar in terms of the shimmer color. Lilac Bridges has more of that golden shimmer head on, and it shifts to a little bit of a coppery color, but it's just nowhere near as fiery as the other two. And Lilac Bridges is also the sheerest of them all. This is 2 coats of each. And finally, the moment that we've been waiting for, here is Lilac Bridges next to Cirque's Fata Morgana, or at least next to what it's supposed to look like according to the website photos. I didn't even want to compare it to my actual bottle because it is just night and day difference, but comparing it to the photos, I really think Lilac Bridges is a really great dupe for this shade. So thank you again to whoever recommended this, because I am so happy we finally got here. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons for my ILNP Black Friday haul. As always, I would love to know what your thoughts are on all the shades that I picked up, especially if you do have any of them or if they are on your wish list too. I know I did see a few comments in my most recent ILNP collections tier list video that you have some of the collections from last year on your wish list, but I'm especially curious about any like older collections, because that's another great thing about ILNP. They really just keep all of their collections pretty much in stock all the time. And I personally don't have a lot of their older releases, but they have such beautiful collections. I feel like I've always been such a fan of their collection themes, their color stories, obviously their finishes and all of that. It's just so nice. So yeah, I would love to know what's on your ILNP wish list. I think I mentioned this already in my Black Friday haul video that I already have a new wish list for ILNP, but those are some more like spring summery kind of shades, so that'll be months away. I'm definitely happy with all of these. I think they are all so beautiful. While I think I do love all of them equally, I'm just especially excited about Lilac Bridges being that like good dupe, I guess, for Cirque's Fata Morgana, which I think I first talked about in my best of Cirque video, which ironically was not one of their best polishes. I guess it is still kind of pretty. Like, I'm trying to, you know, appreciate it for what it is, but that's just not what I was expecting it to be. I really do think that Lilac Bridges is what I wanted Fata Morgana to be. Big thank you to whoever it was that recommended I check out this polish, because as soon as I saw the photos, I was like, oh my god, I think this is it. So yeah, make sure to leave me any and all thoughts that you have down below, especially your ILNP favorites, so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!